Hello, sir. Thank you for such a wonderful lecture.
Thank you.
I have few observations plus few comments and few questions as well. Sir, I have 2 or 3 points. First of all, we talk about building an ecosystem, right-wing ecosystem.
Mhm.
So, when I studied this problem in depth, I came to realize that it is not Indian problem. If we talk about the global trend, we say that right-wing is
Mhm.
somehow weaker because many sub ecosystems are being captured by the left brigade, be it academic, be it social ecosystem, be it media ecosystem, or be it bureaucratic ecosystem as well. So given that we have I would like to say we have a right wing government right now, though many people differ and say it's center of right and all, but yeah. So can we become the leader in this, that since we have a government in place and now many people are coming up in open spaces in social media, though they may not be uh, like defining their point in a cohesive manner with lots of facts and figures, but their arguments are quite valid and people are there who can find logic and they can support. So are we now in a position to build that ecosystem finally after 3 years? Because
Yes.
ultimately to deal with it we require one ecosystem. And second point is that since we when we talk about Indian context, Indian ideology, Indian culture, we say that we are flexible. That is our plus point. We are not based on one single book or one single Das Capital or anything. So we are flexible. We have different sects. We even in our ideology, it is very difficult to define right wing ideology because as you said some points, you mentioned some points, but there may be some people who will differ from it, and there are some people who are hell bent on giving importance of Vedic culture, and they are right in their own sense. They have done their own work. So given that kind of diversity that we have, will it ever be possible to bring them on one platform and uh, uh, give a more cohesive, impactful
True.
counter assertion to the left wing? Because left wing people also differ. They will differ in their echo chambers. When 10 people are sitting, they will give their different viewpoints. But when someone attacks from outside, they become united. And so, in case with many,
Yeah, yeah.
I would say, groups.
So no, to build an ecosystem, say, but you have, we have to, as I said, we have to appreciate the state power, and the right does not appreciate or understand. I think even understand the state power. You can only build an ecosystem once you are in the power. So winning elections, fighting elections, being in the power, and having a control over the state apparatus is extremely important. The left was able to capture it because they were, or their allies, the Congress was in power for so long. So we have this thing, we have state power, we should know how to use it. Second thing, we should know how to throw money. We should know how to throw money on people, right? You can't ask a person to work राष्ट्र हित में काम करिए. It happens because I know the system in and out. So the people say, okay, आप काम कर रहे हैं तो आप तो देश प्रेम के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, आप तो cause के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, आप तो विचारधारा के लिए काम कर रहे हैं. Well, no one will work for that. You have to start giving them good money. For giving them good money, you have to create good institutions. There are lots of institutions which are already created by the previous governments, and they are lying either vacant, the seats are lying vacant in many institutions, or they are being occupied by the old people. What's stopping you from appointing your own people there?
Just one point I would like to make, that is, left ecosystem has a process to build an intellectual.
Yes.
So what they will do, the people they will identify as radical and they write strongly about right wing against right wing. So they give them a chance to go on seminars and take part.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Events, and when they come, they become a.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Look at Guru Meher Kaur, right? So that's what I'm saying, that you should learn how to throw big money. If you want to build an ecosystem, से intellectual class को अगर बनाना है तो कुछ पैसे वैसे देने पड़ेंगे, कुछ क्या आपको इंतजाम करना पड़ेगा. Because if you are not doing that, they will go and search for other opportunity, no matter if they believe in the left wing or the right wing. In JNU, lots of people in the social sciences, they come and they have told me that, sir, we are pro BJP. When we go inside, we vote ABVP. But once we come out, we write in our article everything left wing. We pretend to be SFI. Because that is where the career is. So you have to create this institution. And second, and the third point is that ecosystem is a very broad category. So you have to stop being too Puritan. You should debate, you should discuss, you should attack the other person who is from your ideological spectrum, that you are wrong, you are completely wrong, but do not please push them out. So there's a very good example. I mean, I think lots of people will not agree with me. There's this lady called Saraswati Sarkar, and who is a professor of engineering at, I think, some US university. The kind of work she is doing, I disagree with some points, obviously, is good. We should perhaps stop trolling her. We should, I think, I know she also trolls back, and she also calls everyone that you are doing this and that, but let her be. Let her be. Because if you start pushing out everyone out of your fold, you can never build an ecosystem. So ecosystem will have diversity. It will have the people who do not agree with each other, who perhaps not even see eye to each other, but you have to keep them, all of them, in loop. Second thing, you have to start poaching people from the other side. If they are willing to come, there was this lady who came and joined the BJP election campaign, and everyone is after her on Twitter since yesterday. Let her be, na, okay. So if you want to build an ecosystem. And third point about this Vedic thing, I'm not saying that you have to not study the Vedic period or not do that. I'm saying stop overemphasizing it. It's just like saying integral humanism. आपका solution क्या है economic model का? We don't want capitalism, we don't want socialism, we will follow integral humanism. भैया, what does that mean? What does that mean? Similarly, you say we have a problem, social problems in India today. These are the fault lines. You say Vedic period में जाकर देखते हैं. भैया, what will you see in the Vedic period? It was a very simple society. It was a very simple society. Today you have a society which is extremely complex, right? You can't even compare the two periods. Maybe you can say, अच्छा उस समय ये principle था that we have to be more open, we have to be more. That's okay, but you can't refer it to again and again. That was my point.
So, sir, in that case, can we appropriate some of the Western theories and use it to our advantage, just like left do?
Obviously.
There are many people who have written about different institutions who coerce, who create hegemony and use it to their advantage. So, since we do not have that much theory, can we use it to our advantage?
Well, obviously, the knowledge always grows by learning from the every other sources, right? Knowledge does not come in a vacuum. It is always built upon previous knowledges. So that must be done. But I'm very disappointed that in the political science, sociology is a bit more difficult for the right wing. I know that. Economics, we are there in good number. But in the political science, I'm very disappointed. We don't even have a proper theory. So there was a discussion on Indian political thought. They're only talking Charakya and all those things. Like, yeah, word has moved on 2000 years since him. So talk something relevant.
What do you mean, sir, when you say we don't have any Indian political thought? I'm not able to understand that.
Say, no, we do have Indian political thought, but those are not coherent enough. Say, we have Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and Deen Dayal Upadhyay, and which people sum up as Anantodaya and integral humanism. But what is the I will say, what is the nitty-gritty of it? What is the nitty-gritty of it? When you say integral humanism, it's okay as a principle that you have to look everything in a holistic manner and then you have to take care of everyone. But how you actually go about it, that is absent. Those are more statement of purpose and noble intentions.
Yeah. The right wing is very simple. Other theories are very simple. Which means actually is this: yes, we want nation to be strong. We want nation to be powerful. We do want a strong industrial nation because we also understand that without being industrially strong, scientifically strong on the basis of research, we can't be strong in the world. But we don't want any poor.
They don't want?
We do not want poor in our country. It means that everybody should be able to grow.
Yeah.
So when you say that we call them freeloaders, I don't think anybody calls anybody else freeloader. As a matter of fact, on the social media, the fight generally is who are more pro-Hindu. So whoever is more pro-Hindu is being trolled by who is less pro-Hindu.
And we should also stop doing that. You know?
Yes, we must.
You must stop doing that.
I entirely agree with you.
Yeah.
But one thing which comes to my mind is, why are some of us so strongly pro-Hindu? We are not able to understand or appreciate. We can't go back to the ancient times. Is there a background to this?
Yes, I think the background, I may be wrong, but you see this process of urbanization which is happening and industrialization happening in the non-Western countries. See, when the industrialization happened in the Western countries, that happened over a span of 200 years, 100 years. In countries like India, that has happened in just one generation.
What I will say rather
No,
suggest
no.
is that
Let
India
me
was
complete.
always a extremely urbanized society.
No, no, no.
How many cities?
Let
we have
me
ancient-
complete. Let me complete my point. So, in one or two generation in India and in all other non-Western countries, the people have moved from being rooted in their community, culture, and village to an urban setup, and that has created a kind of rootlessness among the people, and that is a big problem. So, once they come to the urban setting, once they are comfortable, they have their good food and home and everything, they start searching for their roots, and by doing so many of them actually start become very puritan and very I will say fanatic in that sense, that and that is not an Indian phenomenon, that is the world over, that is the world over. So lots of, so please keep sitting.
It's going to happen, it's bound to happen, because then it becomes a class conflict or class war, and it is generally seen. Those who are rich amongst us are less concerned about the poor's sentiments. And we find that those who are poor are not only much more compassionate and kind, not only amongst themselves, but towards those who hate them also.
Well, I think that's a very generalized statement.
It's a very generalized statement, but it's true. The question is not as a generalized statement or individual statement. It's true. One can find it around one's own living. If you are living in a sort of mixed centers, not in a metropolitan center, in a urban center which is not extremely metropolitan. Rural area is urban, what is it called? So it is apparent. So when you look up to them, you naturally think, what is it that gives them that compassion, kindness, or still to think as a whole amongst people? From where is that thought coming? So this one goes back to thought. Is it possible to strengthen the thought? And how that thought can be strengthened amongst everybody?
Yeah,
Is it
I'm
not
getting your point.
Is it not a
Yeah.
right-wing statement? Is it not a root of the society from the poor person who is not so educated, who has not read history, who has not heard many people? He has only connected with the roots, ancient
Yes.
roots, which means even in a modern society, we have that impact of the ancient even in our
Obviously,
life.
obviously. So that is why I said
Shouldn't
that.
be emphasized?
That is what I'm saying, that as the right wing, I said the 4 points that we believe that Indian civilization is worth cherishing and protecting. Its thinking, its thought should continue. My point by saying that you cannot go back again and again to the ancient time is that we are overdoing it. We are overdoing it.
We are not able to find a connect, means how to continue it. A problem rather is that we don't know how to synthesize it.
Yeah, but that's a problem. I said, that's a problem that problem has to be located. As I said, that our society is transforming with a very fast pace, very fast pace. So the moment, say, your generation or before your generation, right, the society, the life was still a bit more stable. But today you see the people are just jumping from one job to another. You have new professions coming in, and by the time 20 years down the line, those professions will go away. We will have a different kind of economic setup. So that is creating a kind of rootlessness, and that is a worldwide phenomenon, and that is creating lots of problems, and that has to be addressed. And that can be addressed, in my opinion, by, as you were saying, by the cultural thoughts and other things. Like you have this identity. Now, as a village person, someone living in Haryana has his identity very clear. I belong to this gaon, this Khap Panchayat, this Jati, this Gotra, and now you have moved from Haryana to Tamil Nadu to do your job, and your second generation is completely cut off from your roots. So that is creating a kind of, what I say, the isolation and loneliness. That has to be addressed. Very true. But how, that is very difficult part.
So-called, even the people who wear the right-wing flag, do they even have a comprehension of what economic right-wing is? Because, a small thing like Uber I have never seen the quantum of complaints I've seen about the research shows that people just can't comprehend that you have to pay for service what the vendor demands. They have this entitlement. No, we are being ripped off. The state has to step in, and it's across the board. Everything is. I am a right winger. I don't want to pay taxes, and I want the government to control prices so that I can have a good life. How does that work?
Well, I agree with that. Say the Uber service or this service,
Any service, any product.
it's up to you whether to use it or not. So you can't complain about the price.
Give me for interrupting you. My apologies. My point is, do we even have this appreciation of economic freedom in the Indian population?
No,
That
we-
segment which got labels itself the right wing.
Very less, I would say, very less people. But however, on the Uber example, I would say that the markets function. Yeah, markets should be allowed to function, but the markets cannot function in the absence of the state. And this is what differentiates me from the libertarians. You cannot have anarcho-capitalism. So when Uber comes into the case, yes, they should be allowed to fix their fare as they want to be, but they should be regulated in the sense they should be open and transparent about it. So what the Uber was doing in the beginning, and I've been using Uber since the day one, they were actually charging the fee in an arbitrary manner. There was no openness how they are calculating the fare. So here the state comes in, but there the state's job should end. That you make proper regulations, that you have to do proper disclosures, and then it should be up to the people whether to use the service or not. So if people are not using the service, obviously they will have no option but to lower their fare. Same thing which happened in the metro case. When the metro fares were increased after 10 years, there was lots of hulla bulla that गरीबों का नुकसान कर दिया, metro का नुकसान कर दिया, and now here's the problem that lots of right-wing people also said the same thing. Another section of the right wing started saying freeloaders से इनको सस्ता metro चाहिए. This is also a problem because as a right wing, you should have argued in a more intelligent manner saying that metro is a high cost system. Metro is not a cheap system. Metro is really not for the poor people. What we have done in this country and in Delhi, by our over-fixation with the metro train, we have neglected the other things. We have neglected the bus services. We have neglected the train services. You go to Connaught Place, there is a railway station there. But no one uses that. So you should be arguing that we have to devise and develop different transport models and methods for different sections of the society, different income groups. Instead, the right wing also jumped into the fray against the Kejriwal group and saying ye freeloaders hain. You can't say that, There are people who actually suffer because there is no other mode of transportation for them. So that is also a problem from the right wing side. So we should be offering solutions.
Something which is done by the people who have no argument to make.
Yeah.
That's not the issue.
But they constitute a very large number.
Where I have a fundamental disagreement with you is
Yes.
that a vendor who's complying with the law as it is set out and has a variable pricing, why should that vendor be subjected to any oversight from the state?
It should not be, but there should be regulation about how you are doing that.
Yes, so fine. The point is,
We have that in the airway sector.
You want to take away the privilege of pricing from the vendor, which is basically hitting at the
No.
freedom.
I'm not taking it away. I'm saying you have to be transparent about how you are doing the pricing. That's it. I'm not saying that government should control the price.
But how far is regulation? I mean, there is monopolies on the other side. And what is regulation really? In terms of say what TRI does or what IRDA does, but how do you regulate other industries, right? I mean, I'm making a vague question, but this is an argument which is very often.
I think that kind of thing is always negotiated, according to time or something. So there is no easy answer that till how far will you regulate, because when I say there should be some government control and regulation on the economy, there is also a risk that government will not stop at any point. It will keep on regulating everything until you have a socialist state. So I think that's more of a negotiated, that depends on the political atmosphere, and that's not an easy thing to answer till how far you have to regulate. Now look at the airway sector. Once you book a ticket on the airplane and you cancel your ticket even 2 weeks before your travel, they normally deduct entire money. If it's a 5,000 rupees ticket, they will give you back 700 rupees. And they will then sell that seat to someone else for maybe higher price because now it's only 1 week left or 2 weeks left. So I mean, they're not being transparent how they are doing it. That's where the regulation, the state rules come in. So state and market are not opposite to each other. The markets cannot function without the state.
No, I understand that the markets, they have to learn to themselves can play.
Cannot.
I work in the markets, so I know that. But
Um,
the regulation part of it is
How far?
How far? And the propensity of human beings is when you have control, you don't want to let go of it.
And that is why we need a strong right wing and informed right wing which can push back politically that you can't control after this point.
But also the market cannot be allowed to control the population completely. That also is true. As you said rightly, 700 rupees a poor person can't afford. Will you not cry when a person is dying?
Well, I read somewhere data that in India
Then you
around,
become leftist, this means?
I think it's an old data, I read it somewhere, around 4 crore people every year fall below the poverty line just because of their health expenditure.
But that's
Health
absolutely true.
expenditure. And that's a big problem.
People mortgage all their everything.
Everything, So we have to argue for,
All over the world, markets cannot be allowed to function without consideration of the populace. See, which means products are allowed to be.
Self-correcting organisms.
It's not. It has never been.
yeah, you please.
Yeah, so Abhinav, I wanted you to address the question of growing chasm or divide between economic and cultural rights. So there are people who have written about it. I mean, the economic right is more liberal in approach, while the cultural rights that you see particularly on Twitter, they are largely labeled as bigots or trolls. And when Modi came into power, there was this hope that these two will be reconciliated. I mean, that there would be a rainbow coalition in the right. But that doesn't seem to be happening, and there is a section in right, sort of economic right, which has this sense of despair
Yeah, I'm getting
for the
it.
cultural right. So how would you propose to sort of bring these forces into a coalition?
Well, it's not as much as the cultural right which is at loggerheads with the economic right. It is the orthodoxy within the right wing. Being a conservative, being an orthodox is a two different thing. So the people who have I pointed out, they are too much fixated about the agrarian India or the timeless India. They are the one who have a problem. It is a clash between the orthodoxy and the economic right. But economic right also has a problem. They go on bashing, saying Hindutva is bad and Modi should do free market reforms. Look at the Gujarat model. What is the basis of the Gujarat model? Gujarat model's basis is Hindutva, right? It's because Modi came to power, he was able to unite different castes and different communities under a Hindu unity banner that he was able to control that state. People forget that Gujarat was in a very bad condition under the Congress rule. Every second week, second month, you will have a communal riot. Different castes were fighting with each other. You have the Kham alliance, which was Harijan, Kshatriya, Muslim, and all those things. So they were ruling the state with the help of a very small number of people by making opportunistic alliance. It's when the Modi comes to power that he creates this Hindutva vote bank, which actually freed or liberated the state from the dictates of any particular community. So what has happened that Patels, they have voted mainly for the BJP this election, but a large section of Patels have drifted away in this election. Had it happened in the 90s, BJP would have been decimated. But BJP was able to withstand this challenge of Hardik Patel and the large section of Patel because you created a Hindutva vote bank. So you basically call the bluff of any caste or any community that you cannot blackmail the state. And once you have that, you are free to implement economic reforms and implement good governance model. So this clash between Hindutva and the economic right and economic growth, I don't see it. I think the people are mistaken in their understanding. Without a powerful state, you cannot have good economic reforms. And a powerful state cannot exist without a party which is free from the blackmailing of different castes and communities. And that can only happen under the Hindutva model, in my opinion, in a country like India. Look at UP. Tomorrow, Yadavs will blackmail, or Rajputs will blackmail, or the Brahmins will blackmail, or any other caste, powerful caste will blackmail the state. But if you have a large, what is called, I think Praveen Patil calls it united spectrum of Hindu votes. Once you create that, then you can call the bluff of any caste.
Economic ambition or say economic aspiration that was seen to be fulfilled if Modi comes back to power by the poor?
I think it was both. It was both in UP. Hindutva was also there, and this desire for better governance than the Samajwadi Party model was also there. It's both. No, this is a very simplistic
What
analysis.
I mean to say is that in order to overcome caste, state can do only one thing, and what it should do differently, that improve the economic status of the poor. So is it different from the left thinking, or is it the right thinking? Is it giving free things to them? What is it?
I'm not getting the question.
See, in my opinion, we were able to win UP because poor thought that our position will improve under the Modi government, not BJP government, Modi government, especially because of demonetization. Talk to any poor person about the Chawar. So, what I mean to say is that in future, in trying to make a Hindutva barrier, the only possible thing is to uplift the poor in the society, which can only be done through
Better economic
subsidizing
opportunities.
them.
No, this is subsidizing them. I agree to that Hindutva works once you have the better economic growth. So Hindutva works in the cities, it works in the urban center. Hindutva does not work as powerfully as in the village countryside. So I kind of agree to that. But in UP, what won the election was basically both. Modi also won not only because of Achhe Din promise, it was a victory of Hindutva model. Gujarat election recently is also a victory of Hindutva model. No matter how much you try to whitewash it, economic right cannot win even a panchayat election in this country.
Tell me, sir, how was Modi able to overcome the caste factor in Gujarat? How was Modi able to overcome caste factor in Gujarat?
I'm telling you now, it was creating a united spectrum of Hindu votes. There was a Hindutva ideological framework, and second was that he was able to give good governance to the people and a better economic growth. The economic growth in Gujarat averaged 10% over his tenure, but that would have never been possible without first creation of a Hindutva, stronghold, because that basically liberates you. As a state, if I'm a government, if I'm a chief minister of a state, and if I'm from Gujarat and the Patels are on the streets, I know I cannot rule because they are so powerful. They are numerically also strong, they are economically strong, socially strong. But if I know all other castes are with me, I can call the bluff. And I can do that with every other caste. So that is why this is important. That is the basis of the Gujarat model. I don't know why the right wing does not say it openly. I say it, Hindutva is the core of the Gujarat model. And it's not about danga, fasad. It's a very simple governance model.
A little deviation. You recently wrote an article that the separation of state from religion is a myth. Yeah, I did not, to be honest, read it. Poorly reflects on. But I've been reflecting on the thought of generally the idea of Hindu Rashtra so far all these years has been a no-no, okay, because we are a diverse society, Mili-Juli Sanskriti, all that has been fed to me. Only recently I've been reflecting on this idea that would India remain if it were 100% Muslim or if it were 100% Christian? How do I reconcile with all this? What is your thought about?
Well, then India will not remain India as it is, as simple as that. This is a no-brainer. Say every different community has a different sense of ethics, has a different sense of looking at the world. It goes for the religion very strongly. So Muslims, Hindus, Christians or Buddhists, they all have their different value system. Now you can argue like a liberal that everyone believes in humanity, well that's okay, but once it actually comes to how you shape your culture, well they are very different from each other in the sense. There may be commonalities, but what is Pakistan after all? Pakistan is the part of India under Islam. Do you see Pakistan as India today? No. So it's a no-brainer. I think that question even, if India becomes a Christian country, India will be a very different kind of a country. It may still remain India, the people might still believe they are Indians, but culturally, civilizationally, it will be a very different
The
entity.
question is that what is wrong with India becoming 100% Christian? What's wrong with proselytization? What's wrong with 100%?
The only thing wrong is that as a Hindu, you also have the right to self-defense, you have the right to exist, you have the right to survive, and you also have the right to propagate your own religion. So if the Christians have the right to propagate their religions, what's wrong in Ghar Wapsi? If you can go and convert, we can also go and convert, the Muslims can also go and convert, maybe even some Scientology people can also come and convert,
Is there any logic or any defense in actually creating a religion-centric India, a Hindu Rashtra, for instance?
Well, I will not argue for a theocratic state let me be very clear. I don't think theocratic states work. Hindu Rashtra, the proponents of Hindu Rashtras have not really defined it as such. Savarkar did something, and in which he basically imagines India as basically maintaining its demographic composition and arguing for a modern nation, an industrial nation. I think that's as close as we get towards defining the Hindu Rashtra, but after that people have not really defined it. And I have not applied my mind much on that.
So what I wanted to ask was, you said that we want urban industrial India. So is it ecologically or environmentally sustainable?
Very true.
So
Very true.
one thing what I think of the Vedic thing is it is more close to environment and being what we are. So it is not fixated with certain way of thought. You can think how you want to live.
No,
When we say Vedic or something, go back,
I'm getting.
it is basically close to ecology. With your plants or
I'm getting what you're saying. You basically see, I don't have problem if you are saying by going back to Vedic period, you want to be live a more sustainable life. So if you're taking that thought from Vedic period to be more ecologically sustainable, that's all right. But see, the Vedic period was very close to nature because it was a very, very, I will say, not rudimentary, but a very, very simplistic society as you compare what you have today. So as the economies grow, as the human civilization grew over time, creating new technologies, stratifying into different professions, creating more surplus in the economy, the life becomes more complex, the society becomes more complex, and that is why you have it today. Now you cannot imagine that you can have all this technology like you have today, like all these cameras and everything, and you can still live in the Vedic period. That's impossible. As long as you are saying we should learn to respect nature from the Vedic period as a principle and apply it to our problems, that's okay, that's right.
I just wanted to understand was like in urban areas the castes get diluted. Urban
Yes.
and industrial India, caste gets diluted. So that's my point is it sustainable? Because how long will we have coal? How long will we have oil or other resources? And where we reach at a certain brink, it will get difficult. So do you think this is sustainable and can we continue even after 30 years?
I'm getting what you're saying, that is this urban industrial model, and that's a big question in
With 1.3 billion people, we'll be having issues with water very soon.
Very true.
So, do you think all such talk, will go far? We'll be fighting for resources before we fight on caste lines. This is my.
No, I agree. That's a very fundamental question: is the model of urban industrialization sustainable or not? So, lots of people say capitalism and socialism have been two different models competing with each other. There's a third thought which used to be fringe economics, but it's now becoming more and more mainstream, that basically said that capitalism and socialism did not differ in the basic model. They both argued for urban industrialization, right? So there's a third thought, but I think we can overcome it with the help of new technologies. We have the capacity, we have the resources, we are not just investing it. Second thing, in India the problem is population. No one talks about it. That's politically uncool, that's politically not correct to talk about the population. But population in India is a big challenge. You can't sustain 1 billion people no matter what you do. You can't even eradicate poverty. And that is 1.3 billion in India. You have what, 22 crore in Pakistan, and some equivalent population, I think 19-20 crore in Bangladesh. I think we are doomed if we continue like this thing. And Myanmar also, okay, in this Akhand Bharat we have this huge population, so we are doomed whatever we do. We have to do something about the population. It's not about urban industrialization as such. We can always find a way via technologies.
In fact, I was about to mention the same thing, which he just did. That in all this talk, there is an implicit assumption that the industrial model is actually sustainable. While, as he said, that in the next 30 years, the world is going to change radically. The other thing that we're talking about is artificial intelligence, which is kind of taking over jobs, which is doing a lot of revolutionary stuff which we haven't even thought about. So as we are proceeding forward, I think that these are the questions that anyone should address regardless of which wing they belong to. While it has become fashionable to say that, right wing or left wing, मैं कुछ नहीं हूँ, मैं तो wingless हूँ. But yeah, I mean, there are certain commitments that you have based on your assumptions about, how the world works. But I just want to make a simple point about what you said, and I thought that you were a little uncharitable with your fellow right-wingers when you said that they don't read much and stuff. The fact is that, yeah, this is true for anyone. I was speaking with a Marxist recently, a hardcore Marxist, and he hadn't read shit, so the...
And left work.
People criticize Manusmriti, but they have not read it.
Yeah, so the point is that, it's not about whether individuals read and how much they read. It is more about the control of academia and how balanced it really is. And in that sense, you are working on the assumption that because we have state power, first of all, this is a big assumption that we have state power because BJP is in power. And secondly, the BJP is interested in doing all those things which there is no evidence for. So what do you think is if you remove that assumption that we actually have state power and Modi ji is working for us, how do we go about, correcting this gap in the academia?
Can I also, because my question is related to what he's saying. So the last part of it, what we were discussing, the scholarship. So the scholarship which is available is predominantly left wing. So if you go to any universities, you will not find people who are subscribing to the right wing. Even if they are in their ghar ki life mein, they will not bring it out. So my question is that, okay, there are students who are with the right wing approach, and they would want to grow into teachers and professors. But there are many universities who do not even entertain a PhD scholarship to a right winger. So how do you go there? And even if there are people who are already trained in that, with that thought point, they're not given space in institutions, or even if they manage to get in, they're not tolerated for very long. So how do we resolve this issue?
Well, I was being uncharitable because I was making a specific point, when compared to, so I've been to many conferences of the left wing, obviously because I come from JNU and the humanities, so I've been to their academic conferences, I've been to right wing conferences. There is no comparison. There is no comparison in the academic standard, right? Why? Because our side people really do not put in that much of effort in the academics. And I'm not saying they don't read. There's also a demographic problem. Lots of the people on the right comes from the STEM field, science field. So they are not well read about the social science issues. That creates a problem when you start dabbling in the social science, because you can be shut up in any moment, by the other side. And that happens. So he's doing his history honors, perhaps he can argue better than a person who has done throughout his life software engineering and is now trying to challenge Ramnath Thapar. That's very difficult. He can do it, but that's difficult. About creating that, you asked scholarship and all, yeah, I'll give you an example from JNU. There's a center called CSRD, Center for Study of Regional Development, in which they have economics and they also have geography. So one person went with his PhD proposal, was a student there, and he basically wanted to work on how this pilgrimage in India has created a sense of geographical unity in India, that you go different shrines and temples and other places. So in the meeting of his department, all the professors were after his life, saying, why do you want to do this thing? This is not fair. You should also include the Christian pilgrimage, you should also include the Muslim pilgrimage, and this is so communal and this and that. So he came back, his proposal was rejected. So I met him and I advised him, please go next time and go with the same proposal and argue that Diana Eck has done the same work and I want to carry forward her work. Her proposal was passed. her proposal was passed. So you can, I know there are lots of barriers and they are very vindicative in persecuting people. Lots of them are. Some of them are really good
There
people.
are also these focus groups which have emerged in, say, for example, Europe or America, which were not earlier there because this whole the so-called monopoly over universities and everything of the liberal order and the left. तो वहाँ पे बहुत सारे वो आ गए हैं तो मतलब that kind of thing can also happen over here.
So I think it's also fair to say you were talking about the liberals are dominating even in the West. A couple of decades back, the conservatives had a good presence. So I think it's also a phase. I think liberals are on a decline because all they can debate nowadays is how many types of genders are there, 10 or 12 or 20. So they have become so absurd. They have become so absurd. I don't think they can survive. With the rise of this Antifa and all those things, they are on a decline. But the problem is that the conservatives are not present to give them a push.
It's too naive on our part to assume that government is going to do everything to sort of bring right-wing narrative. Why don't we talk about private initiatives? I mean, no one has talked about Swarajya, which is doing a wonderful job. Neither have we talked about the Indic Academy or the
India
that organizes talk at every places. I mean, there is so much scope for private.
That's why I'm saying that today we have at least something. There was nothing 4 or 5 years back. So Swarajya is there. Now Rahul Roshan messages me on Twitter and say, please take my name. So I'm thinking Rahul Roshan kind of people are there. So who single-handedly fights with the entire liberal ecosystem. Great guy. So we at least have something today. We need to scale them up. IBC, Indic Book Club is there, but we need to scale them up. And these are only 3. We need 30 more like this. Right? And private initiative is very important. Ultimately, everything happens from the private initiative. The state is important, the government is important, but up to a point. Government can give you a scholarship. Maybe, let's say, they can appoint you a fellow at some institution. But it's up to you to work after that. Everything can't be done by government or Modi ji or BJP. BJP is a political party, it's not an intellectual academic group. So you can't expect BJP MLAs or MPs to do this thing. They will talk as they talk.
When you were talking about people don't read, and you said the right wing don't read, the truth is the young in India, whether they're inclined right wing or
they don't read.
They don't read.
They're watching AIB videos.
Vacuum is there in their minds as well, and the other side is more adept at conveying its message.
The other side understands one thing. Say, when I was doing my eco honors from DU, most of the class used to be, either not political or lefty type or liberal type. But I go to class now as a professor there, and I do ask how many people support Modi or how many people are supporters of BJP. In general discussion, sometime I do ask. Majority of the class say we support BJP or Modi. That's a big change in the classrooms today, at least in DU. Undergraduate students and good courses like eco honors and all those things. So other sides have noticed this thing. So now they are targeting it very clearly, and that's why I argued that right-wing narrative, we should stop appearing to be to be anti-freedom and anti-liberty, and that is what we are doing today. So now whatever it is, say you were talking about the film ban on Padmavati, we are going aggressively supporting the ban. We should not do that. There's other way, a more subtle way of arguing that, look, we are not for banning the movie, but we are for something which is wrongly depicted maybe, or something we don't agree with, so we want it to be reviewed. That's a fair point to make. But going against and saying, there should be censorship, the movie should be banned, and cracking jokes, this is just not done. So we have to appear more on the side of freedom and liberty and tell them that we are the one who actually give you true freedom. The left never gives you true freedom. They are thought-controlled Nazis, right? They will actually persecute you for speaking certain words. I think it's happening in the Western universities. If you are a professor or something, if you use he or she, you will be persecuted. You will be prosecuted. Say what you are doing. You have to use gender-neutral word. Is that freedom? No. So we have to tell them that it's the right which can gives you freedom, because that is more sensible and practical. And coming to that literature point, yes, I agree, we lack that. You go to any left-wing talk, there will be a bookseller sitting outside selling those 20 rupees ka book. So there will be all those books by all their comrades and other people, even people like M.N. Roy. 10-20 rupees ki 40-40 पन्नों की किताब होगी. People read that and that has an impact. हर जगह होता है. वो हर जगह होता है. So why you have to create your own system, but we have not created literature, right? So they have created literature, everything, women in Marxism, or they will sell Periyar, they will sell everyone, everyone, one bookstore, and those are very cheap books. 2 घंटे की रीडिंग है, कोई भी पढ़ लेता है उसको. But now the people are not reading. That's also a problem. That's a problem. So we have to be present in the social media in a far better manner. We must have seen this, the Wire video, this Jangan Man Ki Baat, by that shameless liar Vinod Dua, who lies in every second sentence. Why can't we have someone like that, who can also lie in the second sentence, right?
We have enough people already, sir.
But we don't need to lie. That's a problem. We can speak truth and we can still win. But we have to have those kind of 5 minutes videos and presenting our viewpoints. I think you do, Ashish does some work on the course creation. Maybe you can also get into the digital platform. 5 minutes videos, not long lectures. 5 minutes video done. 2 minutes videos done, That is needed because people are actually consuming knowledge from mobile phones nowadays, not from the books.
Can I ask? Last question. So just to add what he was saying, just to give a point, in my college as an MDI, so there was one guy who was doing PhD on this Guru Shishya Parampara. So I would say that something have changed. The only, I met him 2 years back. That guy, he said that now it's happening. A lot of people are doing courses on related to Indic thought. And the other question I wanted to ask, has there been any, because I'm not a student of social science, any battles or war as a group by SCs or the Dalits against others, and have that ever thought come, why should we even have this identity? बाहर में जाए हम लोग हमारा अलग रहेंगे, मतलब हमारा गांव है, हम कैसे भी रह सकते हैं. So who are they to put this identity on us? this होता है ना, कैसे ही होता है, अगर इतना persecution हो रहा था, if they were such a big group, why was the dependency then? Why do they need others? Why not make their own group? They can live life as they want.
I'm not getting it exactly.
Like suppose if
you are saying once
it's
about
a big group, yeah. If it's a big group, it's a big, because population today, they are huge numbers in a lot of states. So it's such a big group. Why was it so difficult to get out? And they could have, because how much people you need to be socially belong in a social group. If you have that, you need food, basic requirements, you have land. So where was the need to depend on others if you yourself are such a big group? And was there any conflict in history as a group against others? As a group, I'm saying, not individual, but as a group.
You are saying, was there any recorded incidents of caste conflicts?
Dalits as a group versus
Dalit as a group.
See, Dalits as a then you have not
as a serious, not one fight or something, but as a.
There has always been contestations. The whole history is full of it if you read it. What you are saying is that Dalit versus the other. So say, then you don't understand the caste system, right? Caste system is about each individual caste. There is no such thing as upper caste group. No two upper caste look eye in eye to each other, I can tell you. You go to any institutions, in UP at least, 2 or 3 upper caste, they will be fighting amongst each other like mad people for control of the institutions. So forget about Dalits and OBCs and other people, right? So no caste actually looks eye in eye to each other, and this is the problem of the caste system which people are not willing to accept. That it is a kind of an undeclared permanent civil war, low intensity. So no two Dalit castes also see an eye in eye to each other. So is each caste for itself. That is why the Ambedkar says, you have compartmentalized people into watertight silos. It's just like a tower where you can't neither go up, neither go down. So you're stuck where you are. So Dalit as a construct is a modern construct. That's when the modern politics started going up, they say, okay, we share commonalities, so we should come together as a group to resist politically the other side. That's a normal thing. Otherwise, contestation has always been there. There's no incident, there's no place where the contestation has not played out. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's within the religious thought, sometimes it's the social contestation, but that is always there. And about moving out, I think migrations have been happening. That is why you have so many castes. So one caste group basically runs away and establishes itself at different place. But that was not an easy thing to do even in those times, because every state was ruled by some territory, by some other person. You can't just walk in and establish your village or whatever.